Here's a list of people that support it. The African American Mayors Association, the Hispanic American Police Command Officers Association, the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association, the Fraternal Order of Police, major county sheriffs of America, Peace Officers Research Association of California, and so many others. You can ask every officer, law enforcement officer on the streets of America whether they want this to move forward and pass and become law. The answer is yes, because the technology continues to grow and grow. When I first started in law enforcement, we had one shot at the taser. When we would cross draw, flip the switch up, bring it up, taser, taser, taser. We only had one. Later on in my career, we had two options. This gives us 10, in some cases, 10 options to subdue a subject that is violent and is going to either harm the officer, bystanders, or more importantly, themselves. Cross draw, flip up, taser, taser, taser. This is a good bill. And my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they know it's a good bill. In fact, one of the co-sponsors won't even come and talk about it because his majority, Mr. Speaker, doesn't want it. This is the extension of the defund the police. I've had it. We need to protect law enforcement. We're the ones that call them when we're in harm. They come to the fight. They will be there when we call 911. And yet my colleagues on the other side of the aisle won't support something that defends the cops, helps them with another tool on their tool belt to make sure they're safe, the subject is safe, and any bystanders. It is unconscionable. This is a great bill, and I wholeheartedly support it, and I hope my colleagues on the other side of the aisle will too, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Missouri reserves. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank Mr. Stauber for his time in public safety. I want to thank him for being a cop. We all owe a deep gratitude to those in uniform who keep us safe. And as I mentioned when I first made my opening statement, my son's a cop. I appreciate him. I appreciate all his colleagues. But it is disingenuous to stand on this floor and say this bill is needed so cops can have access to this particular type of taser technology. Mr. Stauber's from Minnesota. And I just want to point out that the Minnesota uses this. In Minnetonka Police Department uses this technology. Minneapolis Police Department, they use these tasers. The St. Charles Police Department uses these tasers. The Hastings Police Department uses these tasers. The Brooklyn Park Police Department use these tasers. This is not about police not having access to this taser technology. They have it. They can use it. It is not about that. Please focus on the bill. I reserve my time.
Gentleman from California reserves. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 90 seconds to the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Schweikert.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 1.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Speaker. 90 seconds, probably the shortest I'll have ever spoken. Okay, look, if someone's actually listening to our discussion, the Democrats have made it clear, hey, lots of law enforcement have this product. Wonderful. We're trying to explain this is a segment of the tax code to make it easier and more efficient and less. Look, once again, just read the bill. It's remarkably simple. You have an excise tax. You have to go through all these steps to collect it, then to refund it. So my friend from California, and he's a good guy. We've done a number of bills together over the years. He made my argument. This is actually in wide distribution across the country. And there's another generation of technology hopefully coming and another one coming. And it's more than just, the taser in the hand. It may be the thing on the wall that protects my synagogue or my school or those things. There's a revolution of non-lethal coming that people don't have to die. Thank you for explaining it's in wide distribution. Now let's deal with the things in the tax code that add bureaucracy and cost. If we both support the fact that these should be in the hands of protecting our public, let's remove some of the bureaucracy. It makes it more expensive.
Gentleman's time's expired. Gentleman from Missouri reserves. Gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank the gentleman from Arizona for making my point. You know, if it's about the tax code, let's address that. That's not what this bill does. This opens a huge loophole that will allow people who are a danger to themselves and others to have access to devices that none of us believe that they should have access to. If it was all about what Mr. Schweiker said, why didn't you take my amendment that I filed that would have taken the ghost gun loophole issue off the table? If it's about the tax code, let's deal with the tax code. But as Mr. Doggett made the argument about domestic abusers, these are people who perpetrate the most heinous of crimes. And that's why when this House, Senate passed the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, we closed the boyfriend loophole to ensure that abusive boyfriends were blocked from accessing firearms, the same way we block abusive husbands from getting their hands on weapons. The Gun Control Act is the federal statute that requires background checks which block these abusers from getting their hands on firearms. This bill weakens the Gun Control Act and would allow convicted domestic abusers to purchase long-range tasers and ghost guns. That's not what my colleagues on the other side are suggesting that they want to do. So why don't we deal with the tax issue? We can do it. The chairman of the Ways and Means Committee is right here. That's an easy one for us to fix. But don't create a loophole big enough to drive a truckload of ghost guns through. I reserve my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
We are prepared to close if the other side's prepared to close.
Gentleman from Missouri is prepared to close. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the balance of my time.
Without objection.
Again, this bill does not do what my colleagues on the other side are suggesting that it does. They say that police need this bill in order to have access to and use this new taser, this new innovation in tasers. And as I've pointed out a number of times, everyone who has spoken in their home state, they use these tasers. The police departments have access to these and they use them. As a matter of fact, all 50 states use these tasers today. And I have a list of all those. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter these into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. Also, the issue of domestic abusers. The idea that this body would make it easier for domestic abusers to get new technology in tasers is just beyond explanation. We should be extremely worried about these people getting this type of technology. And then for folks who make the argument that people are afraid, they want to have taser technology, the newest taser technology to keep themselves safe in the civilian space, I understand that. And they are not precluded from being able to purchase and have this new technology in tasers. They just have to get a background check to make sure they aren't domestic abusers, to make sure they're not prohibited individuals who couldn't otherwise get firearms. This bill does a lot more than the proponents are suggesting that it does. If in fact they want to deal with the issues that they stood on this floor today and talked about, all good issues, Everybody will agree with that. Let's do it. Let's draw the bill to deal with those issues. And we could have done that had the majority accepted my bill that would have closed the ghost gun loophole, but they chose not to. So if they really want to make this bill do what they're claiming, let's write a bill that does that. This bill doesn't do it. This puts American communities at risk. I urge a no vote.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized to close.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself the remainder of my time.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, based on the comments that we've been hearing from the other side, it is proof that they didn't take the time to read the 7-page bill that we're debating on the floor. Because the accusations, the comments you've heard, are clearly not identifiable of the legislation that is being debated. This bill comes down to basic common sense. Our tax code should not put unnecessary barriers in front of technologies designed to reduce harm. Representative Schweikert's legislation helps align our tax policy with our public safety goals. It supports innovation. It encourages less lethal means of law enforcement and removes an outdated burden that never made much sense to begin with. When Congress has the chance to make a straightforward fix that can contribute to safer communities and smarter policies, we should take it. I commend Congressman Schweikert for his leadership, and I urge my colleagues to support this bill. I congratulate 22 brave Democrats who believe in less lethal force by sponsoring this legislation. I just wish there was more of that party. I yield back.
The gentleman from Missouri yields. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 1057, the previous question is ordered on the bill as amended. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill to modernize federal firearms laws to account for advancements in technology and less than lethal weapons and for other purposes.
The question is on passage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bill
Mr. Speaker,
is passed.
ask for the yeas and nays.
Gentleman from California.
Ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will please rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote.